Hello again. Today I have another high security pin tumbler lock for you, the JPM Surf. I got this one again from Jabende, thanks buddy. And this specific lock makes advantage out of some well-known security features. First of all, it has 6 pins, 6 normal pins with security drivers. The drivers are the typical SR barrel spools, and of course it has matching countermilling in the core. Additional to that, if you take a closer look at the key, you will see there's a side bitting, those waves, and those waves are interacting with 5 sliders in this lock. All of the sliders have some false gates, or better said, some kind of serration, and this serration is interacting with serration in the sidebar as well. And this makes this lock a challenge, of course, but there's nothing very new to it. So we have all seen SR barrel spools, we know countermilling and sliders, of course. What this locks makes a bit special is the way they master the lock, because if you take a closer look at the tip of the slider that is interacting with the key and reaching into the keyway, you will see that it's could be on the left side or the right side. And if you take also a close look at the key bitting, you will see that the key has a specific wave for both possible positions. So there could be one key that is able to open one specific lock and many other locks, as long as they differ only in the position where this tip of the slider is located. Besides that, for picking, we can go straight forward. To mention is also that the mechanisms are not, at least in my case, isolating very well. You can pick the pin part first and we'll get a very, very decent bit of core movement. But while setting the sliders, you may drop some pins and have to reset them and then come back to the sliders. But besides that, it's mostly isolating, let's say this. And while picking the sliders, there are quite big true gates. So if it's set, you will clearly notice it. The clicking feels different, the sound is different, and you might get a bit of core movement. You have to release a bit tension, as the serration of the sidebar is grabbing quite okay at the slider, but it's not too difficult. So you search the binding slider, push it as far as possible, then it's, as said, very difficult to overset, and you make the jiggle test just to be sure, and then this lock shouldn't be the biggest challenge. In any case, it's an interesting lock. It makes fun to pick and to learn, and worth to show, of course. So I hope you like my attempts of picking this. Have fun. Okay, let's try out this key first. And as you can see, it's working. Then I will apply counterclockwise tension with this custom top of the keyway tool I got from Lambda 2. And for the pins, I will use this Peterson hook. Medium up to lighter tension. And let's go. I will start in the back. Okay, light click out of 6. Click out of 4. Click out of 3. Click out of 2. So I think all the pins are done for the moment, so I will try the sliders. One is loose. Okay, 2's binding. Okay, got a nice click out of 2 and a tiny bit of core movement, and I heard something from the pin stick. Not sure if something dropped. Okay. In any case, I got another click out of 6. 5 still feels okay. 4, so okay, click out of 3. Okay, the pins feel good again, so back to the sliders. Okay, got a nice click out of a 1. Something very decent out of 3. Okay, force binding. Nice clicks, but I lost something from the sliders. 1 is okay. Okay, 2. To reset 2 again. Okay, click it off slider 3. Okay, 4 is set. 5 is binding. Okay, nice click out of 5. Let's double check 4. Come on. Okay, touch on 4 and we are open. Okay, nice, let's get this. Okay, first of all, there's a lovely thick C-clip I have to remove first. So let's do this. Okay. Now I will give this lock a twist, like this, until this part of the core lines up with the drivers. So I won't need to shim in this case. Then push out the core gently with this follower, also holding the sidebar compressed with my thumb. Okay, that's it. Now I will remove the sidebar and the sidebar springs first. Okay, like this. Then the pins. And the sliders, of course. Okay, now a close look at this core. As you can see, the 5 chambers for the sliders, and the sidebar groove with the 2 holes for the springs left and right, and the 6 key pin chambers, anti-drill pin, and as you can see, the chambers are all serrated, or better said, have countermilling, which interacts with the spoolish part of the drivers. But I think you can see it. Okay, that's it. Now let's continue gutting the drivers. Okay, and now a close look at the lock body. As you can see, there's the sidebar groove on the right side, just one sidebar groove. So if this lock is picked, you can rotate it full 360 degrees without any problems. No plug spinner needed here. The 6 driver chambers, of course. And that's basically it. Worth to mention is also this modular design. so you can extend this cylinder as you need it. But therefore they had to make the Bible shorter, so there's less room for all the driver stuff, and therefore the driver design has a hollowed part where the spring could go in a bit, so they won't take too much place. But let me rearrange everything for a nice close-up first. Okay, first of all, let's take a close look at this nice sidebar. Okay, you can see this tiny grooves here. That's the part for the true gate. And if you take a closer look, you see that every single true gate is serrated. So there is something that's giving us a bit resistance while setting the sliders. As well, there are some false gates in the sliders, and those are interacting with this serration. And therefore you will mostly hear very nice sharp clicks when setting something. Besides that, it's nothing too special. Typical steel sidebar and little steel springs. Now a closer look at those drivers. All key pins are made out of steel and the same. No modification or security element here. And this is one driver. All drivers are also the same. They just have sometimes a bit different length, but they are this half SR barrel type. Half because there's this security segment just on one side and the driver cannot be flipped, because on the other side there's a hollowed part, as mentioned, because there's not so much room, and in this part the spring could enter a bit, and this makes everything more compact. But the security element here is, as said, this spoolish part. It's not a deep spool, but this part here, the edges are very sharp, so they really grab quite strong in this countermilling in the core, and this is what makes setting all pins quite difficult, as you have to go through them several times. Okay, as said, all drivers are the same, so nothing too special here. This is slider number 1, and first of all let's take a look at this part. You can see these little serrations up there. This is some kind of false gate or serration, but the true gate is really big, if you see this. So if you set this element, it's quite difficult to overset again, and it will also give you a quite strong feedback. You hear click or got a bit of nearly visible core movement. So picking the sliders is not that difficult. You just press them when they are binding, and until they won't move anymore, just jiggling, of course. Jiggle test will work here as well. One special thing about this lock, as mentioned in the intro, is this tiny part here. This is the part that's reaching into the keyway and that's interacting with the key itself. And for this slider, for example, it's obviously on the left side. But if I take slider number 2 to compare, of course, the true gate is in a different height, but besides that, this tip is on the right side. And that's their way to master the lock. As explained, there could be sliders with the left or the right tip, and the bitting in the key is so implemented that it's interacting either with one or the other side. So the bitting in the key is for 10 sliders technically, or for 10 different sliders. So in each chamber there could be 2 different sliders be implemented without the need to exchange the key. And that's an interesting design. For picking it's not that important, just that the tip is quite small, so you have to make sure that your pick is placed properly. But besides that, there's no additional security feature. Just the depth of the tool you have to enter may vary, as there might be 2 sliders sitting with the tip quite near to each other, while others are quite far away. But when you feel carefully, there shouldn't be any kind of problem. This design in general is not new. The SR barrels with countermilling sliders, so this special type of sliders is not new. But the combination makes a quite challenging lock out of it. Also, the serration in the sidebar is a good advantage, even if their false gates are not grabbing that hard. As you saw, I lost at least one pin and one slider while setting them, but that's not such a big deal. In any case, an interesting lock, not too easy, but also not too difficult, worth to learn and fun to pick. The JPM Surf. So I hope you like this. Thanks for watching. See you soon and goodbye.